South Jersey's play-by-play home for the Eagles,
Touchdown!
Sixers, and Flyers.
He scored!
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
Oh, what a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Friday edition of Game Night Power Hour here on 97.3 ESPN. I am Josh Hennig, live here in the Matt Black Kia Studios. Sixers basketball coming up tonight on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage coming on right after we are done here on Game Night. Sixers taking on the Celtics. Now, it is 7 o'clock. Previously, it was 7:30, but ESPN television dropped it as their big Friday night opening game. So now it's 7 o'clock. So, but you can hear it right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Tom McGinnis on the call. Of course, Eagles football this Sunday. We'll get you all the things you need to know heading into the big football weekend right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Some picks, some thoughts on the games, the latest news, and more. And as always, you can join the conversation. The text board is open at 609-403-0973. Listening on your radio, 609-403-0973. You can DM the show with the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. And we are live on YouTube at 97.3 ESPN. Well, folks, I got some good news, and I got some not so good news. I'm not going to call it bad news. I'm just saying not good news. So the good news is it's been learned and confirmed earlier today that Miles Sanders is good to go. Big news for the Eagles, especially considering that this team needs that changeup in the backfield to be the best version of themselves. The not so good news is that Herbig and Sweat are questionable. Now, the Sweat situation is a little bit more of the thing to keep an eye on than Herbig. Herbig was at practice for 2 to 3 days this week. Sweat is apparently dealing with some stomach issue, and he's been at DMP all week. He's listed as questionable. They're hoping to have him for the game on Sunday. We'll get to the Bucs injury report in just a bit, but I want to talk about the Eagles for a second. So while you're getting Sanders back, the prospect of not having Sweat does create some questions. Among those questions are, if you don't have your primary pass rusher on the outside, will you be able to get the pressure up the middle that you want? Because it's a domino effect. If teams know that they have to go against Ryan Kerrigan, Teron Jackson, Malveaux, that's not the same caliber as Josh Sweat. Kerrigan is on the downside of his career. Jackson's a rookie. And Malveau's a dude that we only learned who he was about a few weeks ago when the Eagles picked him up out of nowhere. So it's not like you're getting the same threat on the edge. So do the Bucs then say, look, we don't have to pay attention to that side of the field. We just have our tackle out there. He'll take care of him. The rest of the guys will worry about them. To me, not having Sweat is problematic. And he's a guy that at least gives you the threat of being able to get a pass rush by himself. You don't have that same threat with Kerrigan and Jackson and Malveaux. Now, we know the way to beat Brady and the Bucs is historically Brady doesn't like pressure in his face. Brady is great maneuvering the pocket, stepping up into the pocket, but he is not as great maneuvering when the pass rush is right in front of him, when guys can get their hands up, knock the ball down, get in his sight lines. That bothers him. That annoys him. That's the key for the Eagles. It'll be curious to see if Sweat is not there, are they still able to get that pressure? Now, even if he is there, I can't guarantee you he gets that pressure because of the fact that we didn't see them do it the first time round. It's not rocket science what bothers Brady, but for some reason, half the NFL thinks that they're going to outsmart him. We're going to get Brady this time. No, you're not. He's Tom Brady. He's 44 years old. He's seen everything. There's not a defensive concept that has not been thrown at this guy yet. So if there's one thing that works, why aren't you doing it? Never understood that. I never understood why there are people in this world who think they have to reinvent the wheel every single time. Why? Why are we trying to come up with something new and different and figure it all out and now do that guy? Why? Why are we doing that? Never understood that. Never understood why there's one way to beat Brady and people think, nope, I'm going to do something else. Maybe it's ego. Maybe it's just bravado. I don't know what, I mean, Rex Ryan's got a ton of that, in his back pocket, that bravado and that attitude. Maybe he's part of the reason why people think they could beat Brady because he didn't always do that. I don't know. But I am curious to see, can the Eagles get that pass rush in the middle? We've seen a lot of formations this year where Jonathan Gannon is the 4-down lineman, and then you have right there in between the tackles, Avery starts lining up the blitz. Sometimes he blitzes, sometimes he drops back, but it is something curious to keep an eye on going into this game, how the Eagles get after the quarterback, whether Sweat is or isn't on the field. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, live in the Matt Black Kia studios. Matt Black Kia wants to get you approved today. Matt Black Kia on the Black Horse Bike, Egg Harbor Township. Visit them online at mattblackkia.com. Now, I'll get to the Bucs injury report here because the Bucs is interesting because the guy who immediately was the go-to fill-in when Antonio Brown went crazy, or whatever you want to call it, Cyril Grayson's out for this game. So now they're without Godwin. They're without Brown. They're without the guy who filled in for Brown. Now you're hoping that guys like Scotty Miller are going to pick up the pieces. Ronald Jones also ruled out for this game. We know that Leonard Fournette is supposed to be good to go for this game. Keyshawn Vaughn is good to go for this game. So they're not completely without help in the running back, but without Jones, it definitely loses that extra guy for depth purposes. Also questionable going into this game, two of the Bucs' better corners, Carlton Davis and Sean Murphy Bunting, both questionable, both of them limited at practice today. So it seems like they should be good to go. The big name who's going is Shaq Barrett. Shaq Barrett was a full participant at practice. Now, there are reports out there that Barrett is still not 100%, and they're going to have him on a pitch count. So you might not see him the entire game, but you're going to see him on Sunday. So it seems like that even though they're without two guys on the offensive side of the ball, the Bucs have two more guys on the defense. The reason that's important is because when the Eagles played them previously, they were without some of these guys who are going to play this Sunday. And the Eagles got too pass happy. That was one of the last games that you saw the Eagles just stop trying to be this RPO, let's chuck it offense out there. The Eagles have rushed for at least 100 yards in 15 out of 17 games. The last time they did not rush for 100 yards in a game was NFL Week 5. They weren't even trying to run the ball much against the Bucs, and they still got over 100 rushing yards against Tampa. That tells me that if you weren't trying to run the ball on them, you could run the ball on them this time. And as I said all week, that's one of my keys to the game. If the Eagles run the ball, they have a chance in this game. Let me know what you guys think about the Eagles and the NFL weekend coming up. Text board is open at 609-403-0973. You can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. And we are live on YouTube, as always, at 973 ESPN. Your thoughts on the Eagles Bucs game this Sunday? Coverage begins right after Billy Schwein in the locker room at 12 p.m. right here on 97.3 ESPN, as every game of NFL Super Wildcard Weekend will be heard right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. The Eagles, obviously, is the highlight of that weekend for a lot of us in this area. But I will get to all the games, all my picks coming up this hour on Game Night. And, of course, you guys can give me your thoughts and your picks as well this hour right here on 97.3 ESPN at 609-403-0973 on the text board. As I mentioned, you could DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. And we are live on YouTube at 973 ESPN, live here in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Coming up on the other side, I will give you my keys to the Eagles this Sunday, and then we'll all start breaking down the games for the entire football weekend. All that and more coming up on Game Night as we lead you up to Sixers versus Celtics. Coming up top of the hour, Tom McGinnis on the call right here on your home for Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
This is the radio home for Eagles playoff football. It's the NFC Wild Card Round this Sunday with the Eagles in Tampa to face Brady and the Bucs.
Brady back. He lets it go. He is going deep, and it is intercepted. And it is picked off by Harris.
Pre-game coverage begins at noon. Merrill and Mike have the call starting at 1. This is where Eagles playoff football happens. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
EMT Solar and Roofing and Solar Guardians. Start your solar journey today by visiting espnsolar.com.
Look, staying healthy isn't easy. Watching your diet, hitting the gym, avoiding stress. But a good night's rest helps boost your overall health and wellness. And it couldn't be easier. The Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed effortlessly adjusts and responds to both of you. The result? You wake up ready for anything. Proven quality sleep is life-changing sleep. Don't miss our weekend special. Save up to $1,000 on Sleep Number 360 Smart Beds, plus free premium delivery when you add a base. Ends Monday. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com.
Bennett Chevy says, we want your vehicle, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. We can help with expert appraisers on hand to help you get more, and you don't need to buy one of ours. Plus, if you're stuck in a lease, Bennett Chevy is an authorized lease return center for all brands. Looking to trade? Bennett will give you a minimum $7,000 for any clunker, no matter the condition or mileage. That's a minimum $7,000 towards any pre-owned vehicle in stock. And if you've got a good quality trade, you can only imagine how much more Bennett will pay. At Bennett Chevrolet, you always have options. Sell us your vehicle. There's no purchase necessary. Trade your old clunker. Get a minimum $7,000 towards any pre-owned.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Our Football Friday picks coming up, being brought to you by my friends at the FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City. Bet all the action style, all NFL postseason long at the state-of-the-art FanDuel Sportsbook just off the boardwalk at Bally's, Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Josh Hennig hanging out with you, leading up to Sixers basketball. Sixers Celtics coming up at 7 p.m. right here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, you guys can join the conversation as well. Your thoughts on Eagles Bucs this Sunday, and also I'll give you a full preview of the full weekend of games. I did want to get to the news we talked about earlier today on Sports Bash with Mike Gill. We wrote about it over at 97.3ESPN.com. If you have the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, probably already saw the alert for this. But Jason Kelce, Lane Johnson, both named to the Associated Press All-Pro teams. Jason Kelce, a first-team All-Pro. You have Lane Johnson, a second-team All-Pro. I'm going to bring this up because, a couple of years ago, people were starting to ask, what is the trajectory of Kelce's career? It's becoming more and more obvious that this guy is going to be a Pro Football Hall of Famer one day. And it's an amazing credit to him, a guy who was a sixth-round pick, somebody who, many people considered too small and undersized to play in the NFL. And he's turned into a staple of this organization. This is his fourth first-team All-Pro selection and his fifth Pro Bowl team this year. Jason Kelce is now the 12th center in NFL history to earn first-team All-Pro at least 4 times. The previous 11 centers to achieve this honor are all in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. On top of that, Kelce is the 7th player in Eagles history to be a 4-time Associated Press All-Pro selection. And every one of those guys, except for one, is also in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Yeah, here's the list of guys who have been to at least a 4-time Associated Press All-Pro first-team selection in an Eagles uniform. You have Chuck Budden-Eric with 6, Reggie White with 6, Pete Pihos with 5, Steve Van Buren with 5, Brian Dawkins with 5, and then the one guy who's not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, an offensive lineman named Al Wistert. He was with 4. So you're talking about elite company that Kelce is in. And now he's also, as long as he plays next year and he stays healthy, he is at worst going to be second all time in consecutive games played by an Eagles offensive lineman. He is currently 4th right now. He has 122 straight games started. He is behind Stan Walters at 126 and Jerry Sizemore at 127. So all he has to do is start half the season next year, consecutive games. He'll already be in second, and then he'll only be behind John Runyon, who has 144 straight. So Kelce is putting together an absolutely incredible resume. And I know for a lot of people, Kelsey's the guy at the parade who gave the great speech. Kelsey's the guy who gets emotional and is passionate about the game. But to me, he's just so much more than that. He is a guy who has been the stabilizing presence on the field for this organization for years. And I don't know if he's ever going to get enough credit by some people because, offensive linemen are not a sexy thing to talk about. You don't win fantasy football leagues. You can't put prop bets on them. People don't buy offensive lineman jerseys. But I could argue that Jason Kelsey may be one of the most important players in this franchise's history. This guy has been under center, snapping the ball and winning games with a slew of quarterbacks, from Nick Foles to Sam Bradford to Carson Wentz. Now Jalen Hurts. I mean, he has been through thick and thin with this organization. As I said, he turned himself from this undersized first-round pick into a future Hall of Famer, a Super Bowl champion, a guy who, he has started 122 straight games, but he's also started at least 12 games every year but one in his NFL career. It's absolutely incredible the resume this guy has put together. And I love seeing it. I love seeing guys finding a way. I love, hearing stories about people who overcome the odds. And I think Kelsey is a perfect example of that. And I love seeing that he's in rarefied air now. It's very, very cool to me. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. All right, let's get you my keys to the Eagles game this Sunday. Of course, you can hear all the action all weekend long of the NFL playoffs right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Eagles kick off at 1 p.m. Merrill Reese, Mike Quick on the call. So you can hear that right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Keys to the Eagles game. Number one, got to run the ball, man. Don't get smart. Don't get fancy. No need to outthink the room. Nick Sirianni, it's his first playoff game as a head coach, as a play caller. He's got to treat it like every other game. He's got to go out there and just get the job done. Go out there and do what you have done the entire season. Run the ball. Let your offensive line dictate the game. Let your offensive line get on top of the opponents. Let your offensive line have a chance to win you the game. Because in the playoffs, you do play to win the game, right? You're not going to Tampa to just lose. You're going to Tampa to try to win. You want to take down Tom Brady. You want to take down Goliath. You want to take down whoever is out there. I got to tell you guys, I really think that the Eagles' only path to victory offensively is running the ball. Now, I'm not saying you got to go Patriots, Bills, Monday Night Football when Mac Jones only threw the ball 3 times and all he did was run the ball all night. I'm not saying you got to do that. The weather is going to be that bad. But you have a winning formula. Stick with it. Nick Sirianni, talking to you, talking to Shane Steichen, talking to Kevin Petula, talking to Brian Johnson, talking to all the offensive staff. I was listening to an interview with Trey Thomas on the Inside the Birds podcast this week, and he mentioned about how Jeff Stoutland may be the best offensive line coach he has ever seen in his life at coaching guys to run block. And Trey Thomas played at a very high level himself. So if he says that Jeff Stoutland is this great run blocking offensive line coach, then you got to lean into what you're good at. Second key. If you want to win this game defensively, Jonathan Gannon has to have a two-pronged approach. The first half of that approach is all of your pressure should be coming funneled into Brady's face. I don't care about the edge rush. I don't care about exotic blitzes. I don't care about anything except for the three guys in the middle of the Bucs line, the center and the two guards, have to be the ones that get blitzkrieged game in and down in and down out. There is a formula that has been around now for almost 20 years about how to deal with Brady. It's a formula. It is something that we know works. And if you do anything except for what works, then you're really just insulting everybody. Listen, Ryan Jensen, Alex Kappa, and Ali Marpet are good. They're not elite. They're not the best of the best, all right? Jensen's not the best center in the league. Kappa and Marpet are not the best guards in the league. I think Marpet is still raw, honestly, as a talent. I don't think that he has fully matured into what he can be. To be perfectly honest with you, I think that he's still maybe, I don't know, maybe like a year away from the best version of himself. I feel like he was such a raw prospect coming into the NFL that it's only been the last couple of years that he has really found himself. He still has an issue at times if he gets bull rushed. Same thing with Kappa. I don't think Kappa has the greatest hands as a pass blocker. And I think that Kappa, he's not the greatest athlete either. So I feel like both those guys, along with Jensen, can be manhandled a little bit. Not extremely, but, manhandled a little bit. I would say that I would take Dickerson over both Kappa and Marpet personally. I think that he's more of a nasty run blocker than those guys are and pass blocker. So the first prong of Gannon's approach has to be everyone funnel to the quarterback through the middle. If you're going to blitz, don't blitz on the edge. I don't want to see a single safety corner blitz in this game, because if I see it, it's probably not going to work. Because if I'm seeing it, Brady's seeing it. And if Brady's seeing it, you're already toast. You don't got Troy Polamalu blitzing from the safety position. Unless you got him out there, I don't want to see a single person coming around the edge on some exotic blitz, all right? The second prong of the Gannon approach has to be, if you're going to run the zone that you insist on running, it's got to be an aggressive zone. You got to stop playing back pedal. Don't run away from the quarterback. Don't run away from the receivers. Get up on the receivers. Jam them a little bit. Make them think. Be aggressive. Get in their face. It's Mike Evans, it's Gronk, and it's a bunch of dudes. It's Scotty Miller and a bunch of dudes. That's who's playing in this game. Don't let anyone get a free release. Don't let anyone dictate the game offensively. Get them off their timing. Make them think about what they're doing. Every receiver from tight end to wideout on the Bucs roster is not immune to having their route disrupted. Get physical with Gronkowski. Anthony Beck brought this up on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. And Anthony Beck played in the NFL, first round pick, long career. He said, I don't understand why people don't smack Gronk coming off the snap. Defensive end, linebacker, you got that 5 yards or less. Hit him. Don't let him get a free release. Don't let him get him moving immediately. Don't let him get into his route. Don't let him put you in a vulnerable position. Part of the reason why I think the Eagles have had trouble covering tight ends is because there's too many times, whether it's Gannon this year or Jim Schwartz last year, that guys were backpedaling immediately. They were immediately on their heels. So now you're allowing the receivers, whether it's tight end or wide out, to get into motion, get into their pass pattern, dictate the pace of the game. That's a no-no. You cannot do that under any circumstances. I want to see whoever it is, Alex Singleton, TJ Edwards, Rodney McLeod, the defensive ends, whether it's Barnett or Sweat or, hey, Barnett loves to throw cheap shots. Why does he throw a cheap shot on Gronk? Cameron Brate, come on. Just a little forearm in there. Let him know you're there before you go on your pass route. We see tight ends do it all the time. They do that like 1 or 2 second pass block, then they immediately release, they run to the end zone. No. Don't let them just get a little release and run to the end zone. Immediately when these guys the ball is snapped, Mike Evans, Gronk, Scotty Miller, Tyler Johnson, not the NBA player, the NFL player, all these guys, hit them, disrupt them. Don't backpedal the entire time. Stop playing the sticks defense. You got to be aggressive with your zone. Zone defense should never be an excuse to stop playing aggressive. You still have to attack the ball, attack the receiver, body them up. Don't let them have an easy pathway into their routes. Don't let them pick you. Don't let them dictate anything to you. Those are your keys to the game. If they do those 3 things that I just told you guys, the Eagles could win this game. They could, because the Buccaneers are way more injured, way more damaged, way more banged up than they were last year. And last year, the Washington football team gave them all they could handle and more. And last year, Tampa was way healthier and way better, you could argue, than they are this year, just in terms of talent across the board. And in that game, Tampa only beat them 31-23. That was a 7-10. Excuse me. That was a 6-10. Sorry, 7-9, I should say. Washington football team. I'm sorry. The website I have in front of me is giving me the wrong record. You can't be 7-10 in a 16-game season. They're including the playoff loss as a loss. No, 7-9 Washington team. What happened in that game? Washington stayed aggressive offensively. They didn't take their foot off the pedal at all. Tampa only won the time of possession battle by under 3 minutes. It was like 2.5 minute difference. Tampa didn't score on every single drive. In fact, their first drive was a field goal. Washington gave them everything they could handle and more. The final points by Tampa was also a field goal by Ryan Suckup. Suckup had 4 field goals in that game. That was a big part of why Tampa won versus Washington last year. And that was a much better Tampa team than this year's team. I've been asked multiple times this week, how realistic is the Eagles' chances in this game? I'm telling you right now, if they do those three things, it's realistic. Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN FM, live in the Matt Black Kia Studios. Text board is open at 609-403-0973. You can also DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. And we are live on YouTube, as always, at 973 ESPN. Coming up on the other side, I will give you all my predictions for all of the NFL games this weekend. We'll look at the spreads. We'll break it down all for you. Officially, picks on the other side here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, which is free. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City, where you can check out my article on Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson, both making the All-Pro teams. And we are live on YouTube at 973 ESPN. Yes, I am Josh Hennig, and this is Game Night.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
And a jam by Embiid. He dunks it on the entire Rockets team.
The Sixers host the Celtics. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's play-by-play home for the 76ers.
If you suspect you have mold in your home, water damage in your basement or crawl space, or a foundation problem, call Perfect Basement. If you're selling your home, address the problems before your buyer discovers them. Perfect Basement provides free, no-pressure inspections for waterproofing, mold remediation, and foundation repair. They're family-owned in South Jersey, licensed and certified, and accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Visit perfectbasement.com and check out their exclusive price guarantee and great reviews. That's perfectbasement.com.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig leading up to Sixers basketball tonight. Sixers versus Celtics, 7 o'clock, right here on 97.3 ESPN. A busy, busy weekend of sports. Tomorrow, coverage of Kansas versus West Virginia in college basketball. Coverage begins at 1:30 here on 97.3 ESPN FM, followed by NFL Wild Card Weekend doubleheader on Saturday. Starts with the Raiders and the Bengals, followed by the Patriots and the Bills. And then Sunday on 97.3 ESPN, Eagles versus Bucs coverage begins right after Billy Schwein in the locker room on Sunday on 97.3 ESPN. Following the Eagles-Bucs game, we will bring you 49ers and Cowboys, and then Steelers and Chiefs on Sunday night. And then Monday night, it's a special Monday night playoff game. Cardinals versus Rams. You can hear it all right here on 97.3 ESPN. Speaking of Billy Schwein in the locker room, tomorrow from 10 to 12, I will be filling in for Billy Schwein on Saturday, along with former Eagles linebacker Brad Quast. So you can hear both of us tomorrow from 10 a.m. to noon, and then I'll have the 1 hour of Sports Bash Saturday tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN. Tomorrow on the locker room with Billy Schwein. Brad Quast has a great guest for us. He locked down William Thomas. Yes, the former Eagles linebacker, the Pro Bowler. He will be joining us. Do you know William Thomas? I looked this up today. He is top 10 all time in Eagles history in solo tackles. So he will be joining us coming up tomorrow on Billy Schwein in the locker room. And then on Sports Bash Saturday at 12:20, we'll be talking with DraftKings NFL analyst Reed Fowler. So busy weekend for me too, right here on 97.3 ESPN. Sixers starting lineup tonight: Tyrese Maxey, Seth Curry, Matisse Thybulle, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid out there for the Sixers against the Boston Celtics. So that'll be a very interesting matchup. I want to see how the Sixers handle defensively Brown and Tatum at the Wells Fargo Center tonight. All right, as promised, let's get you all the picks for the weekend right here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you. We're going to go in chronological order with these picks, and you guys can drop your picks, who you think is going to win the Eagles-Bucs game, who you think is going to win any of these games. If you agree or disagree with me, you can chime in on the text board at 609-403-0973. You can join the conversation as you watch on YouTube at 973 ESPN. And, of course, you can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. As I mentioned, in order, first game tomorrow, 4:30 kick Eastern time. Raiders at Bengals. The more and more I look at this game, the more and more I think this is going to be an exciting game. I think this is going to be a much better game than people may be giving it credit for. You know, usually the first game of the wild card weekend is usually one of these like, yeah, whatever kind of games. I don't think this is going to be that kind of game. I think it's going to be competitive. I think it's going to be a little bit of a shootout. I really like the over 48.5 in this game. I really feel like the Raiders and the Bengals are going to score points. I understand the Raiders have a very good pass rush, and the Bengals offensive line has allowed some of the most sacks this year in the NFL. But I just think Joe Burrow is too talented that he's not going to get points in this game. I feel like you could make an argument for either team to win. To me, the argument for the Raiders is the Bengals have no playoff experience, and you are one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now. To me, the argument for the Bengals is it's your house. The Raiders are playing on a short week, coming off a very emotional overtime victory. They might be emotionally spent. You can win this game. To me, the two things that make the most sense are you either go over 48.5 or you go Raiders plus 5.5 in this game. Ultimately, I do think the Bengals win this game. I think it being in Cincinnati matters. And I think that in this game, the Bengals pull it out. Nightcap game, Patriots at Bills. I'm telling you guys right now, I think the Patriots win this game. Sean McDermott can be all butthurt he wants about how Belichick didn't outcoach me, and I'm going to show you. Shut up. Belichick's got 6 rings as a head coach and 2 more as a defensive coordinator. And he's been to multiple other Super Bowls as a D coordinator and a head coach that he didn't win as well. I don't want to hear about you, Sean McDermott, and how sensitive you are. You're telling me that Patriots Buffalo isn't going to be a case where you got to beat Belichick? I think Patriots win this game. Listen, I don't see a pathway for Buffalo to win because of this one reason. I think Buffalo's offense has regressed. I think that Brian Daboll and this Buffalo Bills offensive coaching staff have done Josh Allen a disservice. I think Josh Allen showed you last year that he is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And statistically, he regressed. He is down 6% in completion percentage. He has 5 more interceptions this year. And you're asking him to run the ball way too much. He almost doubled his rushing yards this year. There have been games where they barely ran the ball with the running backs. I think that Allen is not in the best situation this week. And I think the weather, in some ways, it's going to favor the Pats because the last time they were in Buffalo, it was a massive storm. Now, we don't have a massive storm this year, but there's a lot of forecasts saying that the weather is going to be a factor in a lot of places around the country this year. All right. Now, I'm going to give you the latest forecast for Buffalo. Not the forecast I saw earlier this morning on Good Morning Football. I'm going to give you the up-to-the-minute forecast. This game is kicking off, scheduled for 8:16 p.m. The current forecast for tomorrow at 8:16 p.m., 7 degrees and breezy. Now, this game seems like it's going to be a game of mental attrition. The weather is not going to be bad outside of the cold. The tougher-minded team is going to win. And in that case, give me the Pats. I'll now give you my pick for Eagles versus Bucs. Again, you can hear it right here this Sunday right here on 97.3 ESPN. I think the Eagles cover the 8.5, but I think the Bucs win the game. And I hate saying that because I really would love to see the Eagles go beyond this weekend. I would love to see what would happen if they got to play the Packers, because that's a team we haven't seen them play this year. I just feel like you can't go against Brady. I think Tampa is going to be very well prepared. I think that the return in this game of Leonard Fournette to be playoff Lenny is going to have an impact. I don't trust Gannon. I just don't. I don't trust this guy to do what makes sense. I haven't trusted Gannon all year. I've been pleasantly surprised most of the year. I think the Eagles lose this game because Gannon loses his edge. People have talked about when they went 7-9 games, how great the Eagles defense played. Well, they did that against Trevor Siemian and Jake Fromm and Taylor Heineke and Garrett Gilbert. They didn't do it against the best quarterbacks in the league. Gannon is a guy has not been shown to be trustworthy. I think the Eagles cover, but I think the Bucs win. I think you're looking at like a 27, 20, 30, 24 kind of game. I think the Eagles offense is going to do their job. I believe in what the offense has done. I believe in Hurts. I believe in this offensive line. But I think Jonathan Gannon is a guy who doesn't have the guts to do what's necessary in the biggest moments. And I think he's shown that already, that the thing that everyone and their cousin, you can have all these analysts on TV, all these former players, all these former coaches, all these people from all walks of life all say the same thing. This is what you do. This is what you should do. And he still won't do it. Gannon has to prove to me that he's more than a prodigy, that we need to wait and see how it goes. No. This is put up or shut up time for the boy wonder, Jonathan Gannon. All right, the other games. I got 49ers beating the Cowboys. I really do. I think Kyle Shanahan is going to outcoach Mike McCarthy. I think McCarthy is going to do something in this game that is going to implode the Cowboys' chances to win. I think Kyle Shanahan will find a way to slow down the Cowboys' pass rush. He will stay away from Trevon Diggs. He will run the ball. He will do play action. He'll get the ball into Kittle's hands. He will avoid the pitfalls. I think Shanahan wants to prove that he's the better coach because he knows he's the better coach. He doesn't have the better team. He has the better coached team. I got the 49ers beating the Cowboys. Sunday Night Football. Steelers at Chiefs. This is a mismatch. I think it'll be close early on. I think that the Steelers defense will make things interesting to start the game. But I think as the game proceeds, the Kansas City will just pull away and expand the lead. You heard the stat earlier this week when we talked to Jeff Ulrich. Of the last 22 wildcard weekend games, 15 of the 22, the underdog covered the spread. That's a high percentage. So here's what I'm looking at. Raiders, Patriots, Eagles, 49ers. 4 out of 5 games. Looks like I'm calling a cover here for all 4 of those 5 games. I feel like the only game that's not a cover is Steelers Chiefs. I think that they'll be close early on. Maybe a first half cover, but for the game, I think Chiefs win by 14. All right, I'll be back on tomorrow filling in for Billy Schwein. In the locker room, I'll be in here in the studio along with Brad Quast, former Eagles linebacker, from 10 a.m. to noon, and then Sports Bash Saturday, 12 to 1 here on 97.3 ESPN. So come by for the football talk. Have a great evening. I'll catch you tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN.
Hey, South Jersey, this is Billy Schwein. Tune into the locker room every Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN. Each weekend in the locker room, you will get passionate sports talk from a fan's perspective, along with interviews with some of the biggest names in sports. That's every Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to noon in the locker room with me, Billy Schwein, on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, because nothing could be finer than talking sports with the Schweiner.